Why is it that we give China such an easy pass? In the 14 and a half years I've lived in China, I've seen China grow incredibly. Impressive cities, amazing skyscrapers, the infrastructure, the high-speed rail, the quality of life for your average citizen, at least in the cities, improve greatly. China's the kind of place that if you go there, you'll be blown away at first by what you see. But all this infrastructure, all these fancy shining buildings have come at a massive cost to the environment, both in China and, more worryingly, across the globe. You see, it's easy for those living in the cities of China or abroad to turn a blind eye to China destroying its own environment, decimating the wildlife and making 70% of arable land contaminated, rivers too. China's land is sick. Pollution during the winters around the country, especially up north, is so horrendous that masks must be worn and all homes use air purifiers. Trust me, I've been there, I've seen it, I've lived it. There have been times when I've visited Beijing and Tianjin where the air literally burned my eyes and lungs. But sure, whatever. China is growing and what they do within their borders is their business, right? Wrong. China has for decades now been having severe and detrimental impacts on the rest of the world. And we will start with the environment. Let's talk about how China single-handedly caused a massive hole in the ozone layer. A short while back, scientists were baffled as to why the ozone layer wasn't actually healing, but rather depleting at an alarming rate. They managed to trace the source back to the eastern coast of China, surprise, surprise, where clandestine factories were using banned chemicals, which of course was leading to this disastrous attack on the ozone layer. Okay, but why is this China's fault? Because it is China's fault. Simple. The inability of the government to enforce even the most basic laws and rules to prevent the use of these very well-known and internationally banned chemicals is incredibly common. In fact, local governments are usually and have been proven to be complicit in these crimes. Kickbacks and blind eyes and all that. It's actually a part of Chinese culture and society, and it's called guanxi, which means relationships, connections, that sort of thing. So, where are the Greta Thunbergs of the world on this issue? I don't know why all these climate change activists refuse to point fingers at the country that is actually causing the most harm to our planet. We keep applauding the massive rise, fast infrastructure and raising of millions out of poverty, but ignoring the fact that the CCP is the reason why those people were plunged into poverty in the first place. We ignore that the health and well-being of those millions of people are secondary to advancing economy, and that as long as the numbers are going up, it doesn't matter how many people get cancer, contract pollution and food quality related ailments. In other words, the CCP overlords care not for the people of China, but only what they can get from them, which is ultimately loyalty, power and exploitable labor. You just need to visit the countryside or a lower-tiered city of China to get a clearer picture of how the majority of China lives. It's not pretty, nor is it anything other than a hair's breadth above real poverty. Ozone layer aside, China has completely outfished the waters off the coast of China, and so their fishing trawlers must seek alternatives. And the alternatives are the rest of the entire world. Clandestine Chinese fishing has decimated the fish stocks off the coast of South Africa, my country, and most of the African coast, where corrupt leaders are easily paid to turn a blind eye, while local fishermen and communities suffer greatly. Why is it that China gets a free pass on this? Where are the Greta Thunbergs of the world on how China is disproportionately outstripping the ocean of its fish? There is no catch and release or sustainable fishing in the modern Chinese mentality. As a nation who recently experienced devastating famine, it's a take now before it's all gone mentality. Why is it that we give China a free pass on this? Fish aside, where have all the rhinos gone? What about tigers, pangolins? Why is it that rare and endangered creatures around the world are still being so aggressively hunted and poached to the point where poachers and anti-poachers are fighting military-like battles in the African wilderness? Chinese medicine is your answer. The majority of these animals are killed in order to satisfy some bullshit Chinese superstition based on traditional Chinese medicine garbage. Rhino horn is going to make you better in bed? Eating tiger will make you more powerful? It's all a bunch of bloody nonsense, and it's for people who lack reason and civility. Those are the only people who really can truly believe in this garbage. So why do we give China an easy pass on this? Where are the Greta Thunbergs of the world on the evils of Chinese traditional medicine killing all the endangered and beautiful creatures of the world? TCM aside, what about the current pandemic? The exact cause has yet to be definitively determined, but regardless, the spread of these pathogens are turbo boosted by the absolute lack of hygiene in China. The public spitting, snotting, urinating, and the lack of hand washing and covering mouths when coughing or sneezing. The wet markets where people pick and prod the meat before choosing it. The lack of refrigeration and oversight. The willful spread of the virus by people bragging to have travelled abroad with symptoms and having slipped by detection measures simply beggars belief. Why are institutions like the WHO scrambling to find a way to make sure the world doesn't blame China? Spending huge amounts of time, money and effort on finding a name that doesn't tie this pandemic to China, and continually blowing sunshine up the arse of the CCP? Where are the Greta Thunbergs of the world on this? Mind you, she probably likes the idea that the world's economy will take a massive hit due to this and that factories can't be running. So I guess we shouldn't look to her. So where's the outrage from the rest of the world? Why is it that we are not pointing a finger at China and telling the CCP to clean up its act? We're tired of mopping up China's mess. China's exporting environmental disaster across the planet. Africa is being decimated. The seas outfished. The planet which we rely on for survival is disproportionately under attack by one nation, and it's time we held them to task. It's time we stopped giving China a free pass on all its transgressions. It's time to take a stand against the CCP and the damage it has caused the world. At the same time, this is not a call for us to be rude or ignorant towards Chinese people. The majority of them have been railroaded into this by their corrupt and incompetent leadership. It's the CCP who is our enemy here, and they're the ones we have to focus on and hold to task. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next one, and until then, you know the drill. Stay awesome.